Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Tomcat Stitchery. I'm Whitney and today we're going to have a little bit of a chatty video. We're going to talk about something very near and dear to my heart, and that is why sewing, number one, is such a wonderful hobby, but how healing of a hobby it can be, and kind of the reason why I even started my YouTube channel, Tomcat Stitchery, back in 2018. We have just hit the 7-year mark. 7-year mark for Tomcat Stitchery, and I cannot believe that I have been doing it this long. It's crazy. I never want to stop. So this is really something that brings a lot of joy to my life. And if you're new here, we've got a lot of new subscribers. Kind of the reason why I do what I do, and why, if you're someone that hasn't started sewing, why it might be something that a hobby you might want to try, because it can go so much further than just, hey, look, I made this really cool dress or this really cool pair of pants. All right, so let's get into it. And again, it's been a little bit since I've done a chatty video like this. So I learned to sew back in 2006 when I was pregnant with twins, boy-girl twins, and I was looking for a creative outlet, I just needed something. And growing two humans, or any human in your body, you get those nesting feelings. If you're someone who has ever been pregnant or ever had kids, you get these nesting feelings, and there was just something that I knew I wanted to be doing a little bit more of. I was very sick before I got pregnant, and had a whole bunch of health issues going into that. So when I did find out that I was pregnant with twins, I decided that I wanted to take some time. I had to quit my job because of illness. Even before getting pregnant, I was almost completely housebound for quite a while, which that's another story for another day. But anyway, when I found out that I was pregnant and that I was having twins, surprise, I decided that I wanted to try something new. And so I had been looking, I knew that I was going to have a nursery for two babies. I did not know at the time that I was having boy-girl twins. I just knew that I was having twins. But I decided I wanted to learn to sew. So I asked for a sewing machine for my birthday and my 26th birthday, and I got it. And it was kind of, once I kind of taught myself, because I was completely self-taught for the first few years of my sewing journey. I learned through books. The internet definitely YouTube wasn't a thing yet, and or if it was, I wasn't on it. But it was all still very, very new. There wasn't a lot of, blogs were a thing. So, but I don't know that the sewing, I wasn't familiar with the sewing scene at this point. However, I did get a Colette. When Seamwork Patterns was Colette Patterns, I got their first book and was very interested in that. I was doing some craft sewing, all that kind of thing. But I definitely got bit by the bug right off the bat. And then when I found out I was having boy-girl twins was when I decided I was planning the nursery, and I didn't want a boring nursery. I didn't want these gender-neutral nurseries that were all like pale green and tan. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but if you've watched my channel at all, you know I really gravitate towards color, and that's what I wanted. So I decided with my mom, told my mom, hey, we're gonna figure this out and make all of the bedding and curtains and everything for the nursery. So that is kind of where my journey began. And at that point, sewing was really a creative outlet. It was a way for me to play with color, to play with fabrics, to create something that I couldn't find in regular, not ready to wear at this point, but in home decor and everything that I was seeing or could afford. I'm sure if I'd spent a fortune, I could have found the baby nursery bedding that I was wanting. But that is kind of how my journey started. That was the beginning of everything. Fast forward to a couple of years, and sewing became very quickly my mental health. Raising twins from the birth until they turned about 4. Life was a complete blur. I do remember their years, but it was a lot. It was a lot. And I needed something for me so that I did not lose myself in just being mom and a mom to twins, potty training two people at once, teaching two of them to walk at once, making sure once they did start walking that I had both of them whenever we went anywhere, because inevitably one would go one way, the other would go the other way, navigating terrible twos and the terrible threes, and all of that came with that. Was a very stressful time in life. And I absolutely needed sewing in that moment to come back to myself. It was something that was methodical. I could sit down, I was following a pattern directions, and my brain could settle. It could quiet down, it could settle, and I could have something for myself. So it was at that point that sewing really became something for me, and something that really helped with my own mental health and having that time. Also, about the time they turned 4, we moved from Missouri to Indiana. And that was not something that we ever thought was going to happen. My husband and I, we thought we would be in the Kansas City area forever. All of our family lives there, all of them. And it was just not something that we saw happening, but it did. The Lord works in mysterious ways. And sewing, once again, really actually came to my rescue in a big way at this point in my life. So we moved 500 miles away from everything we'd known, all the family that had been so instrumental in helping us keep our sanity, in helping us raise our kids, and being there to help with babysitting and, whatever the case. Now we were on an island a little bit. We didn't know anyone here. It was, we were meeting people. Our kids were still preschool age, so we weren't in school yet. And again, I turned to sewing in order to meet some people and to find that my kind of center. And that is when I was starting to get interested in learning to garment sew. So I took a class and met my mentor, Joyce, who was just everything I needed at that time and more. I will never be able to, Joyce has sadly passed since then, but I will never ever, and I wasn't, even when she was still with us, able to express my gratitude for what she gave me in all of her knowledge that she poured into me when it came to sewing, because it truly was my lifeline. So that is when I met her, and kind of took that whole process. That's when my apprenticeship started with her. My kids started school at this point, so I had some free time. Life was changing again, and now I wasn't home all of the time with 2 small children. They were going to kindergarten, so I was able to take time and really kind of explore what sewing looked like for me, and I wanted to learn it all. I've always been a huge student nerd. I love learning. I love taking classes. That's always just been part of me. I loved school, and this was what I needed in this point of my life. And I thank the Lord every day that he put Joyce in my life, especially when he did, because she was ending nearing the end of her career. So I was with her the last few years, apprenticing with her of her career. And then she sold her business to a previous employee. And I went to work for there in this bridal workroom for a few years. And I'm so grateful to Sarah as well for, again, pouring into me and giving me that knowledge and giving me the chance to learn, because as we know, there's a lot of trial by error, a lot of, you got to make mistakes in order to learn and to progress and to grow. Because sewing, no one was born being an excellent seamstress. It is a practice skill. So being able to practice that skill under the tutelage of first Joyce and then Sarah absolutely has, changed everything. But it was in this journey that I discovered fitting. And all of a sudden, these styles that I have always wanted to wear, the aesthetic that I've always been drawn to, which tends to be a little bit more classic, although I love bright colors. And a lot of times that doesn't meld. You see a lot of classic silhouettes in more neutrals, and you don't see it as much in the bright colors. So I was never truly able to find exactly what I wanted to wear. Coupled on top of that is that I am very short, with a short torso and a very large bust. So I could not wear classic tailored items that I wanted to wear, because blazers in stores don't fit me. When they fit my shoulders, they don't come close to fitting my bust. When they fit my bust, they make me look like a linebacker because the shoulders are coming way off. Or if it's a button-up shirt, the shoulders are coming way down my arm. It just was never a good fit. So I was never really able to explore fashion the way I wanted to because I couldn't find things that fit me properly in the styles I wanted to wear, and then the colors that I wanted to wear. But learning, having that aha moment, and my aha moment, if you followed along for any length of time, was with a button-up shirt. And when I first learned to fit a button-up shirt to my body, it was like the heavens opened. I have a few times in life where I felt like the heavens opened. When my kids turned 4, it was like a key was turned. And parenting all of a sudden became so much easier. Still struggles, obviously, but it went from being just that chaotic, I don't understand what you're trying to communicate to me. It was like a key was turned, and yes, that, and then creating my first button-up shirt. All of a sudden, this key was turned, and worlds were open to me. Style was open to me, and fitting. And it was not only a game changer in my sewing journey, but also a game changer in the way that I viewed myself and my own body image issues that I know I'm not alone on this, but that I'd grown up with, and things that I have been, had tried to overcome, or maybe not even really tried that hard, but things that I really struggled with my own body image were just erased, not overnight, but the healing that began when I learned to fit my body, I couldn't put into words and could never put a price on it. But that is something that truly changed not only the way that I saw myself, but also the way I felt about myself, and then the way I was showing up in the world around me. So that all culminated to, okay, 2018. I think I want to become part of the conversation that is happening online. I was watching some YouTube videos with sewing. I want to become a part of that conversation. I want to share what I'm making and just be a part of this wonderful sewing community. And that again opened up so many different and new things. If you guys have been around for a while, a lot of things have changed around here in the 7 years that I've been doing this. But being able to be a part of this wonderful community and being able to share what I know that I was truly gifted and given a Joyce and a Sarah in my life. And I know a lot of people don't have access to that, and being able to pass on the knowledge and the skills that they had poured into me, being able to pass that on to others has truly become really my mission, and really why I started Tomcat Stitchery. Being able to pass along, to educate, inspire, and engage with the sewing community at large, and pass on all that stuff that I was so lucky to receive, so that it doesn't stop with me. Neither one of my kids have any interest in sewing at this point, so I just am trying to give this stuff away as much as possible to help nurture those around me and spread the love of sewing to those that are curious to learn, because that's fine. My kids don't want to know. That's fine. So that is kind of now taking me to this new transition in my life of being an empty nester. I moved my kids to college, or my husband and I moved our kids to college a couple weeks ago now, and life has changed again. And it has really, and kind of the inspiration behind this video, it has just struck me how important sewing has been in all of my life transitions. But, right now we're at a big one. My kids are doing great in college. That's fantastic. This is definitely the steps that they're supposed to be taking right now. It's time, I worked as a parent in order to get them to this point where I pushed them out of the nest. But it is also, it's sad. A chapter closes and a new chapter opens, which is very exciting, but also trying to figure out what that looks like. What are my new routines with my husband? What are my new routines just in my everyday life? How does my parenting, it evolves, it changes. I'm no longer teaching, I'm now just a coach on the sidelines. So what that looks like. And in all of that trying to figure out, Jenny and I got together. We became empty nesters at the same time. Her youngest graduated high school the same time mine did. And we moved everyone to college. And we had a craft day together. We sewed an amazing pair of pants, and those are coming onto the channel on Friday, so please come back for that. And it was such a restorative time, and thank goodness for a creative hobby. And I highly encourage everyone to have some sort of creative hobby, whether that's cooking or writing or sketching or drawing. This doesn't have to be something you make money on. Whatever the case may be, finding a creative hobby is so important for all of us as humans. And I personally think that sewing is a great one. But find your thing. Find something that interests you. Try a whole bunch of different things until you find that thing that is just really a great outlet for you. to help aid in those transitional processes. As we go through life and as we transition from one stage to the next, which is very natural, it is important to have those things that can anchor us and to really bring us back, as well as those hard times where we just need that mental health break and that time to come back to center. So with all of that being said, if you are someone that is thinking of taking up sewing, you're curious about sewing, I hope you will join us here in the Tomcat Stitchery world. We have got our website, tomcatstitchery.com, but we also have a fantastic introduction to garment sewing where I would love to be at the start of your sewing journey with you, on top of all the content that's here on YouTube, which there is over 1,000 videos. So definitely dig into the video catalog that we've got of all the different tutorials and techniques and all the things. But we also have this introduction to garment sewing class where I will hold your hand learning to sew with garments and hopefully be the beginning of your sewing journey. You can find more information about that at tomcatstitchery.com/shop, as well as our other classes that we offer over there. But I would absolutely love to help you take that next step in figuring out if sewing, especially garment sewing, is your next step in your creative journey. All right, guys, that's all I've got for today. I hope you've enjoyed this one. It was kind of a spur of the moment thing to do, but I was just feeling very called to this be the video for today, just because it's very applicable in my life right now. I've had a lot of things happening in life, and just the importance that sewing and having that creative outlet have played during these difficult times. And that can also be good to reflect on as well. That, even though things can be hard in certain aspects, and in my case, it's all in my personal life, but even though things can be very hard, there is still beautiful things to see around you and reasons to create beautiful things and put those things out into the world. Okay, guys, that is all I have for today. I will be back on Friday with magic pants. So I will see you all there. Until then, happy sewing, and I'll see you then. Bye.